Hello everyone and welcome again. We are still hearing a lot of problems with testing. People are having to wait a long time just to get tested and get their results back. And one of the main reasons for this problem is because these tests are done in highly complex laboratories and they have limited production capacity. Even though they're running 24/7, we are testing more people and we are sending more samples to the same laboratories. So as a result, they're running out of their capacity. Now, one way the FDA has tried to solve this problem is to encourage test developers and laboratories to develop what they call pooled sampling protocols. And just last week, they have authorized one such test that can be done using pooled samples. Pooling of samples can work very well under certain conditions to help alleviate the testing capacity problem, but it has its limitations. And we're going to talk about those limitations and benefits in this particular video in the light of this particular test that just got authorized. So let's look into this. This test comes from Quest Diagnostics, and in fact, this particular test was authorized by the FDA in March. Since then, they have added more capability and functionality to this test, such as home collection and now pool sampling. So just last week, it was updated for home collection, healthcare setting, and pool samples. Samples can come from upper and lower respiratory systems. But for pool sampling, samples have to be collected by a trained professional. They cannot be done at home, and it can come from only upper respiratory system. Targets are N1 and N3 regions of the nucleocapsid gene of the virus. So it's highly specific and targets two specific areas. RNA extraction is done using the Roche Magna Pure 96 system, which is a high throughput system. Amplification and detection is done using the TaqMan chemistry on Advanced Bio System 7500 equipment. This comes from Thermo Fisher Scientific. Authorized labs are CLIA high complexity labs or labs designated by Quest Diagnostics, which should be also high complexity labs. So what is pooling? Pooling is when you combine samples from different patients together and test them together. It doesn't mean that you are getting rid of individual samples across the board. You are taking a small amount from each individual specimen and you are pooling it together to be tested all at one time. So when is pooling useful? As we talked about it, testing volume is exceeding test capacity. So pooling can be useful. Testing reagents are in short supply or we have low positivity rates. When the positivity rates are above 25%, this approach is not efficient, and I will explain in a moment why. So what are the possible results in action? Well, you could have a negative result for the entire pool, or you could have a positive result, inconclusive result, or invalid result for the entire pool. When it's negative, you report the result for the pool as negative. All four specimens are negative. But when it's a non-negative result, meaning detected, inconclusive, or invalid, you have to repeat each specimen individually. And that's exactly why when the positivity rate is high, this approach is not efficient because you are more likely to get a positive result for the pool, and then you'll have to repeat the test for the four specimens separately anyway. So you will be running more tests, not fewer. So the problem of capacity will become worse, and that's why pooling is not efficient when the positivity rates are high. But it can work when the positivity rates are low because now you have to run only one test against four. So let's look at some of their results. They did a validation study for positive agreement in which they had one confirmed positive sample pooled with 3 negative samples. And they looked at 1 to 3% positivity rates, 3 to 6% positivity rates, and 6 to 10% positivity rates range. These samples came from those populations. So in the first case, they had 30 turned positive and 100% positive agreement. In the 3 to 6% positivity rates range, they had 36 samples, all 36 tested positive. Remember, we're talking about the pooled result now. In the 6 to 10%, 35 samples were tested, 33 were positive and 2 were inconclusive. So they are counting the positive agreement as 100% because the inconclusive samples will also need to be tested separately anyway. So this is going to work because you're going to screen out positive result or inconclusive result and test specimens individually. Now let's look at the negative agreement. In this case, they took negative samples and pooled them together, 4 of them. Again, 1 to 3%, 3 to 6%, 6 to 10% positivity rates population. 103 in the first range, 102 were negative and 1 was inconclusive. So negative agreement is only 99%. And this is a proxy for efficiency as well. They are 99% efficient. 106 out of 107 for 3 to 6% range were negative. So again, it's 99.1%. 6 to 10% range, 37 out of 37 tested negative. So they had a very good efficiency. That means if we know the samples are negative, the pool will also be negative 99% of the time. So it's very good negative agreement. The efficiency can be very high. So what about the question of sensitivity of the pool? For example, let's say you have a positive individual with very low amount of virus. When you pool it together with 3 negative samples or other samples, it will be diluted. That means you may not have enough sensitivity. So what they did was very interesting. They did actually a pooling validation using in silico sensitivity analysis. This is a analytical approach, not really testing approach. And they use regression analysis using pooled samples validation study data that I just showed you. And they looked at a large number of individual samples from these populations, 1 to 3% positivity rates, 3 to 6% positivity rates, and 6 to 10% positivity rates. So remember, in the pool validation, they had 30 samples for the first range. They looked at 820 individual samples from another sample bank they had. And what they did was a regression study to figure out how much dilution effect will be seen in a pooled sample of these positive samples. And they predicted the results. And they found that 97% of these 820 samples would be found positive in a pool of 4 where 1 was positive and 3 were negative. That means they will be able to accurately measure a positive result in a pooled sample. Similarly, for 3 to 6%, more than 1,000 individual samples were evaluated. And they think that 99% of these samples would be found positive in a pool of 4 specimens. Similarly, in the 6 to 10% range, again over 1,000 samples and 98% of them would be found positive. And the point of this exercise is to show that the test is sensitive enough to be able to detect positive samples in a pool of 1 positive and 3 negatives, which is good news. That means as soon as a positive is detected, they will run the test on individual specimens anyway. So I know we went through a lot, and this is a complicated exercise, but we need to understand this data to have confidence in this result. So 2 key points. They are not going to do pooled sampling when the positivity rates are high because it doesn't make sense. You will actually make the capacity problem worse. And the second thing to understand is that they have enough sensitivity in their process to be able to accurately detect positive samples even when they are diluted by negative samples, right? Because they did over 3,000 samples. And we will see how the real world performance pans out, but the lab validation data looks pretty solid. So this is good news and one step forward in the right direction. Hopefully it'll help alleviate the production problem that we have. So again, many things are happening. Every week there is some new news. And the best way to keep in touch and track all this is to subscribe to my YouTube videos. And you can also follow me on LinkedIn. I'll show you how to do this now. You can sign up on YouTube for my channel. You can look up Exceed Naveen Agarwal PhD and my channel will come up. Or you can follow me on LinkedIn and follow the links that I provide to you on my feed. Whenever I post a video, I'll give you a link. Finally, I want to thank you for your interest and continued attention. I've heard a lot of good things from you. Please keep those comments and questions coming. If there's anything that you would like to learn more about, let me know. I hope all of you are keeping safe in these difficult circumstances.